Today I'll be teaching you how to draw a realistic black and white drawing based on a photograph. The tools you will need are black colored pencil, pencil sharpener, these paper things called blending sticks, scotch tape, some sketch paper, the edited photograph that you would like to draw. I'll show you how to edit it in just a little while. And the last thing that you will need can vary a little bit from person to person. Now, I like to use something called a light box or a tracing box. You can plug it in and it shines a bright light. You put it over two pieces of paper and you can use it to trace. You can, obviously everyone doesn't have one of these, so you can use, if you have a pane of glass and you can put some sort of light source behind it, a lamp, anything, or I've also taped my images up to a window and put a lamp behind it. Really anything works. Any hard translucent surface with a light source behind it that you can put your image up against will work just fine. The brighter the light, the better though. And now I'm going to show you how to edit your picture. Okay, so now that we have printed off our picture, we can start with the actual drawing process. First, of course, we need to get our piece of sketch paper, and we're going to take our scotch tape, and we're going to take two pieces of tape and do one on each side. This just reduces the chance of it slipping around while you're drawing, and trying to realign it is just kind of hard to do and annoying. You can also still bring the paper out to see what you're drawing if you're having some trouble seeing it through the paper at times. So we are going to turn on our light and we can get started. One thing a lot of people like to do when you're drawing, especially faces, a lot of people tend to draw what they think it looks like instead of what they actually see. Something that helps a lot with this is either to turn it on its side or turn it upside down. That way you're not seeing what you think you see. You're seeing what's actually there. So instead of drawing an eye, I'm simply drawing the shapes I see shown in the black and grays. So the best way to get started is starting with the lighter colors, the lighter shades of gray. So instead of immediately doing the darkest parts you can find, start with, say, maybe this area around the nose where there's just a little bit of gray. This prevents it from smudging as badly. A lot of times when you're running your hand over a picture, the edge of your hand smudges it. And if you smudge over a dark color onto an area that's supposed to be lighter, it's very hard to fix. However, if you smudge a lighter color into an area that's supposed to be darker, that doesn't really matter because you're going over it anyways. So we'll start with the light areas. Okay, so we've gotten most of the lighter areas on the actual face. I'll do the actual hair, the bow, and the upper torso a little bit later. Now we can start doing some of the darker colors, the darker grays and the blacks. I usually like to start with the eyes just because that's a good place to go out from the center. If you do from left to right, you tend to smudge, and if you do from right to left, you tend to smudge quite a lot. So going out from the center is the best choice while also turning it. So I'm going to start with the eyes right now. Alright, so the eyes are finished, and they're looking pretty good. Something important to realize about eyes is that the pupils need to be at the same level. There is always some sort of light source in photographs, professional photographs especially, so you need to make sure you get this little white part in the eyes that is a reflection of the light. Without that, for whatever reason, it just always looks weird. Make sure you're always looking for that. Okay, so now we pretty much have the majority of the face done. We can go in and touch up some things a little bit later, but I'm going to move on to the hair. The hair is usually pretty interesting because hair has a lot of reflection in it. It generally has a lot of different colors. It has lots of shadows. So you need to follow the shapes pretty closely. Unlike the face, where if you make some mistakes, the hair can usually still look okay. If you make mistakes on the face, like making certain shadows the wrong shape, you change the shape of the face, making it look like not the same person. With hair, though, it's not quite as important, but you still want to try and get it to look as similar to the picture as possible. So once again, we're going to start with some of the lighter shades. Okay, so those are the highlights of the hair, where the light is glinting off the shininess of the hair. Next, we're going to be going with some of the regular shades and some of the shadows. Alright, so we've got the majority of the hair done. I'm not super happy with it just because some of the highlights might be a little bit too thick or maybe too light. We will be able to go back and change it a little bit more though in the end, figure out what exactly we want to change about it and fix it up, along with anything else we want to fix. Next we'll be moving on to the bow. The bow is, well, it's a white bow, so you shouldn't have to do much for it. Okay, so we have the whole head done. Now we can start the neck and down into the torso. We're basically doing the same thing we've been doing the whole time, just drawing the shapes we see with the shades we think are about right. Alright, so right now all we really have to do before doing our finishing touches is shade in the shirt, and that takes a little while, so I'm not going to really narrate anything about it. I'm just going to shade it in. Alright, so right now we have the shirt colored in, we have really everything colored in quite well. All we really need to do is a couple touch-ups. Now, this is really depending on what you want the portrait to look like. Do you want it a little rougher? You might leave it like this, make a couple little alterations where you think they're really needed. I think the hair needs to be darkened up a little bit, maybe keep some of the highlights because there are some bright spots in that hair. Right here you can't really see the shirt underneath, so add an extra little line to help it show up. Darken some shadows if you need to. Bring in your eraser to clean up any smudges, or especially if you have any on the face where it's supposed to be all white. If you want, you can bring out your blending stick, and especially things like right here where I drew the shadow a little bit too darkly, I can either try erasing it or I can try the blending stick and see if that looks any better. It's a little bit dark, and I might still try erasing that darker bit a little bit more and then reblending it. And there, that looks a little bit better. And then now the blending stick does darken things a little bit, so you do need to be careful with it. But it can really make things a lot smoother throughout the entire picture. Now I can look underneath at the other picture, see if I've missed anything. There are a couple small spots where obviously you just really couldn't see it through the paper very well with the light, and that's normal. Generally when you are posterizing the image, the fewer number of gradients is best. That way you have a larger contrast between the different shades of gray that you're using, and they're easier to see. In this case, I believe I used 7, and really the lowest number makes it the easiest, but the higher number makes it look more realistic. So it's really up to you which one you want to pick. So let's smooth this out a little bit more. And we are done. That is how you draw a black and white colored pencil portrait. You can always, always, always use this as a gift for a family member, for a wedding, for Christmas, birthdays, anything. They are wonderful handmade gifts. And thank you for watching.